Hello and welcome. I'm Jenni, founder of Gentle Landmark and the host of Gathering Voices. This season, we're exploring cultivation, what it means to intentionally grow our relationships, our work, and the communities we surround ourselves with. Each conversation is an invitation to slow down, listen deeply, and connect with the voices that bring clarity, alignment, and peace. Thank you for being here and for cultivating space for meaningful connection. What if feeling your best wasn't about doing more, but about listening more closely to what your body is trying to tell you? In today's episode, we're joined by board-certified health and wellness coach Alayne Morena for a conversation about stress, nutrition, hormonal health, and giving ourselves the grace to let go of perfection. Together, we explore how small, sustainable changes can lead to lasting confidence and a healthier relationship with ourselves. Hi, Alayne. How are you?
I'm doing well, Jen. How are you?
I'm good. I'm very happy to have you on here, and I'd love for you to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Alayne Morena. I am a board-certified health and wellness coach. My niche is menopause, so autoimmune, and anyone who is looking to get healthy.
So what started you on this journey? How did you get into this service?
I'm a dental hygienist of 40 years, and my background, I started to have some hand and joint pain. So I saw an orthopedic who said you have just a little bit of arthritis, but nothing that would warrant any kind of treatment, and sent me to a rheumatologist who did a lot of blood work and determined that I had lupus. So after taking the medication for several years, the symptoms didn't get any better. And he kept telling me, oh, just keep the meds. You're fine. It's lupus. Fast forward, I found a functional nutritionist who advised me to stop my dairy, gluten, and eggs. And after a short period of time, my symptoms all went away. So having the background in healthcare, I thought, how many other people out there like me suffering needlessly with a diagnosis because it's not true? Well, I, in essence, healed myself. And then after 2020, when dental hygiene was kind of we didn't know if we're going back or not due to COVID, I decided to go back to school and became a health coach. So it's been a long journey.
Yeah, absolutely. When you are working with clients, what would you say is the focus that you seem to continuously work with throughout each individual? Is there a common theme, or is it all kind of different things you're working with your clients?
Each client we treat individually. What we might do with you, I may not do with another client. Typically, we take into account lifestyle, any kind of food, what you're eating during the day, or as women, a lot of don't like to eat. They're trying to stay thin. But then we just kind of allow you as the client to drive the conversation forward. I'm just a coach. I take all of the information, go over everything, and then I make the recommendations and you decide if you want to follow or not. It's all bio individual.
Yeah.
I can't say that there are two clients that I treat the same.
Do you find any patterns, though, throughout your clients?
Typically, as women, is stress. We're trying to be everything. We want to get up and cook meals and do laundry, work 40 hours outside the home. And yet we all get really, really frustrated that we can't accomplish all of this. So just having the clients stop and realize that it's okay if there are dishes in the sink for a day. It's okay if the laundry isn't done until Sunday. It's okay. And we try to find different patterns to help people manage that and not be as stressful. Sometimes it's a work environment that's toxic. Sometimes it's the home style that's toxic, or there are different avenues within there that we kind of try to figure out which is which.
Yeah. And with that, with stress, it can be all consuming, right? So,
Yeah.
how do you navigate stress with all the other outlets that the individuals want to move into, whether that's losing weight or nutrition or like just overall health? How do you end up navigating that and managing it?
I don't navigate anything. The client drives the conversation. So whatever the client wants to do is what we work on. Say you want to navigate how to meal prep. We go through all of that, but it's baby steps. You can't accomplish everything overnight. We're not going to make big changes radically. Then they're not sustainable. So say you want to lose weight, we'll look at what you're eating during the day and try to pick out, can we meal prep Sunday? Is that a better day for you? That way it makes it easier for the rest of the week.
That makes sense. And how would you say that stress plays onto all the other things? I know you talked a little bit about nutrition, the everyday lifestyle of chores and things to get done. How does that affect the body?
The body stores everything. And unfortunately, even if you don't believe you're under stress and you think you've got all of these compartments under control, as women, we're always under stress. And it can affect you in sleeping. It can affect you in overeating. It can affect everything. And that's in essence what had happened to me. My stress created such a dynamic shift that I could no longer process dairy, gluten, and eggs at that point, creating rashes all over my body, giving them the illusion that I had a disease I did not have. So it's very
Yeah.
important to try to navigate as women, what can we control and what can't we control? And we like to think we can control everything, but it's got to be one day at a time, one step at a time. The stress will always be there. And it's just how we react to it.
You hit on a topic of, we as women, we're always trying to do so much and be overachievers. So carrying a family, running a business, how do you manage it all, especially with your past experience?
One day at a time. It's some days I'm very productive and other days I'm not. And I give myself the grace to realize that I'm not perfect. And most of the time, some of the time, you're a hot mess and you're just trying to get through. And there are things that you can concede and other things that you can't. You know, I've got a lot of weeds in my front yard. Do they bother me? Absolutely. Are they a priority? No. So we do the very best that we can. And you've only got so many hours in the day to get things done. We can't stress over it because that'll be exacerbating an already stressful situation. I try to make a little bullet point for myself, what things are just like a necessity that need to get done on that day. And then anything else is a bonus.
I was just thinking that too. I was in my head while you were talking. I'm like, how does one prioritize what is most important and then follow that list? Do you have any tips on prioritization and navigating the necessities of a daily regimen and making sure that you maybe stick to that list? Because there's also so many things that just pop up throughout the day that maybe affect our mindset, our physical well-being, whether it's interrupting our positive mindset, or it's physically pulling us, say, like a kid having to move into their schedule or something like that. Do you have any tips on how to keep your mindset in that momentum of that prioritization?
I make my list the day before. So I have my list of things that I need to get done today. As things come up, absolutely, you need to learn to pivot, but give yourself the grace to move forward. Something came up last night that needs to be taken care of today. So I just added it to the list. But typically, I generally don't go to work till about 8:30. I'm up at 5. And I take that first hour for me. I have my cup of coffee. Most mornings I'll meditate. and then I'll work on my business. So I give myself an hour for me, and then I move forward with the rest of my day. That's typically how I do it. But there are certain things that like you have to pay this bill today. That has to get done. Do you have to go to the beach today? Do you have to do this? You don't. And just learning which is more of a priority. Do the dishes have to get done today? You have other dishes. Instead of using a bowl, you could use a big bowl. You don't have to do certain things. So it's just giving yourself
Yeah.
being graceful about it and learning to pivot. And in a year, are you going to remember today that you didn't do this or that? You're not.
Yeah. I'm thinking of those individuals who maybe aren't able to give that grace just yet, or who have a schedule that just seems piled high and there's no way to give grace, and how to adjust that mindset and that kind of confidence to recognize that it is okay to, maybe not do that right now because it's priority. What would you say to those who are maybe stubborn in their ways or just doesn't see an outlet where this is possible to have that kind of grace or that flexibility to do that?
Yeah, ambivalence is a fine place to live for people. That or denial. We don't want to move forward because it's very comfortable where we are. And, if you're married or you have children, if you're feeling stressed, communication has to be, sitting the family down and saying, hey, listen, I'm doing this, 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 and this. I can't do it anymore. Mentally, I'm just having a hard time. So recognizing how you feel instead of saying, fine, I'll just do it. And then we're doing all the laundry, the dishes, the cooking, the cleaning. And now we get resentful. And who are we taking it out
True.
on? We're saying it to ourselves. So that's negativity coming in. And we're not necessarily telling it to the people constructively who really need to hear that. And as women, we're like, fine, I get it, I get it. But there is no shame in saying, you know what? It's Friday night. I've worked all week. I deserve a night off from cooking. So collectively, the rest of you figure it out. Or already predetermined, are we going to do pizza tonight? So fine, you don't have to, I take an hour just because I take an hour. You don't need an hour. It could be 10, 15 minutes. Walk around the neighborhood and say, Mom needs a break. It's 15 minutes. I'll be right back. And not get angry about it, but just to kind of stop and pivot and redirect the thoughts that are negative, because getting nasty and negative at your family, passive aggressive, that's only bringing you down. So
Yeah.
one step at a time, Jenny, one step at a time.
You mentioned in the beginning you work a lot with clients about menopause and in that state of being, especially as women. With this, menopause can definitely affect your capacity to do things and feel positive sometimes. How do you navigate all this within that added aspect?
That's a tough one, because all of a sudden now there are dramatic body shifts, lack of hormones, brain fog, and other avenues that creep on in, and trying to get everything under control seems, just awesome. People are just like overwhelmed and just can't do it. With health coaching is more of a, like I said, the bio individual. What is the most priority to the person? Is it that they feel like garbage? Is it that they want to eat better, feel better, do better? And then we just take those little pieces and we put them all together. So there's not one true path in health coaching, because it's always like a little maze. It's like a little puzzle. How can we get this client to
Yeah.
feel better, not only about themselves, and sometimes, again, it's about, you know what, this is who I am. I'm going to be this way. and acceptance. And sometimes just accepting where you are helps the bigger picture. You know,
Uh,
serenity prayer, what you can control and what you can't control, and the knowledge to know the difference. So,
yeah. And with that, you were talking a little bit about hormonal changes and such. How does that affect weight management? How does that affect the impact of losing weight, maintaining weight? And again, like you said, with that mental state of finding peace maybe with it rather than having it continue to set you back mentally.
a lot of times, what happens is the estrogen drops, cortisol rises, and we start to develop in and around the middle, this belly fat that just will not go away. And so trying to figure out, do we need to consult your physician? Is there something else that's driving it? I can look at things. I am not qualified to make any kind of dramatic shift that way. I just take the outside stuff and I will consult. I have a functional nutritionist I consult with, physicians I consult with, PAs, just to get that patient feeling healthy. But the hormones,
Yeah.
years ago, they never put anybody on hormone replacement. And now they're starting to come back to that, which is good. But you've got that whole segment, like myself, of the population who never had that. And we're just out there doing our thing, trying to get, the diet under control, exercising, and feeling good.
How do you find that confidence transitions the way someone feels about themselves compared to before you work with them and after you work with them?
Typically, through motivational interviewing, open-ended questions, we will get to that aha moment where the client goes, that's it. And something clicks. And they're like, okay, now I can do this. And that is the best feeling in the world for myself. And knowing that the client is now, oh, I can do this instead of that. And I feel better. So you get along those, and it's just an amazing journey for the client.
Yeah. And I know we've been talking a little bit about both mindset and the scale and the weight. I know you're very much about, we are more than just a number on a scale. Can
Yeah.
you talk through how you've been able to resonate with that and how you help others get past that number of like feeling like you have to hit this number and say maybe it's just not able to be reached? How do you support that mindset to get past that?
That is almost a difficult thing for women. We are programmed that to be healthy, you need to be 125 pounds. You go to the doctor and a BMI and you're like, oh my God, I'm a 30 BMI. I'm overweight. I'm obese. And we just need to change that mindset in women, is that you could be 125 pounds and not be healthy. But
Mm,
trying to get people to understand that, confidence comes from within and everybody is beautiful, whether you're big, small, or in between, it doesn't much matter. And there are a lot of people who are in the gyms all the time that I go with, and you look at them and they just look so buff and they weigh more than me. And so you just have to get to a point where you're confident and you're happy with who you are, where you are, and go from there. Now, clearly, if you have any kind of like an autoimmune or something, you have a lot of inflammation, it's a different story. You may be gaining weight from medications that we can't control. So we have to control what we can. So it's just a matter of, and it's bio-individual. Each person is going to be treated
yeah.
differently, but yet you're always going to try to increase their confidence and making sure that they know that they are the best at where they are right now.
Yeah. With the whole medical aspect of it and different medicines that you may be prescribed from doctors and you sharing about the misdiagnosis that you had with lupus. Do you mind sharing a little bit more about that in terms of how that affected you and what you were going through and how you came out of that? How do you even recognize that like maybe this isn't working and like finding that support?
My journey was multiple years. Going for the blood work. Yes, your inflammation is still high. Everything is out of sorts. I had multiple rounds of Lyme disease. Epstein-Barr came into the picture as well. That's a big virus that you never really get rid of in your body. And for myself, the rashes all over my body were intense. I couldn't stop itching and I was so fatigued. I would go to work. I'd come home and be in bed at 5 and then get up at 5 the next morning and still feel miserable. I just think that a doctor telling you, you keep going, you keep going. And I knew there was another outlet. There had to be another outlet out there. And changing my diet, non-processed foods, eliminating the dairy, eggs, and gluten, eliminating sugar. I don't recommend eliminating everything all at once. Try one thing, and maybe that one thing is what is triggering everything. But at the end, after I had been very clean, I don't discount medical advice. And if someone has a true medical thing, eating all the food in the world is not going to change that. So I did go back to a different rheumatologist who ran a lot of tests and still said, here's the medication. And I said, but why? And she said, oh, you were diagnosed in 2017. I said, but what do the numbers show today? And she said, oh, everything looks good, but you were diagnosed in 2017, so you need to take the meds. I said, I've not been on the meds for over a year. Why would I take them? And she said, but you were diagnosed in 2017. And I said, I have so much inflammation at that point, and now I do not. Let's start from today. And she couldn't give me an answer why I should not take the meds, and wrote in my chart it was against medical advice. And I thought, that's different. I do know now, currently, there are a lot more practitioners who are getting into, if you're low on calcium, instead of taking something, eat more healthy foods that contain calcium, for osteoporosis and osteopenia, so the precursor to osteoporosis. So I'm happy to see that people are noticing we need to get back to our basics about how we treat our bodies, because we never had a lot of these diseases prior to all of the processed foods coming on, and just recognizing how to eat a little bit better, even if it's just one shift, we might feel a little bit better.
Yeah. Can we talk more about getting back to basics? What does that mean to you, and how can individuals who are listening go about doing that?
Absolutely. I prefer eating whole foods. Apple is only an apple, an orange is an orange, lettuce is lettuce. I am not adverse to eating milk duds or a cupcake from time to time, but I think if 80% of the time you're eating whole foods that have no ingredients, if you look at a box of crackers, there are 14 different ingredients, whereas on a cucumber is just a cucumber. So trying to get back to cooking with whole foods. And today, if you take whatever you have in your refrigerator, say you've got chicken, you've got white beans, sun-dried tomatoes, you could make a beautiful meal out of that. Put that into a Google search and a nice recipe will come up for you. So I like to do things that way, cooking with different spices and things about that. So
I love that. And it's so important that we are kind of getting back to basics to regulate our systems, maybe. Because, like you said, we didn't have all of these symptoms or diseases and such how many years ago. And we've gotten to our foods and the things that we consume, or even the things that we wear, that are
Yeah,
highly processed and not whole, like you said. And that can really
right.
impact not only our interior makeup, but also our exterior makeup as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. I think this has been such an eye-opening conversation. Do you have any last words you want to share with the people listening?
The common theme is one step at a time, and we're not perfect. I am the classic overachiever type A personality, and I've learned to just, you know, not that I will get to it tomorrow, but try not to get so stressed over things, and just give yourself that
Yeah.
grace and communicate because otherwise people don't understand.
Mm, yeah. Thank you. And please tell everyone how they can find you if you're accepting clients.
Yes, I am on Facebook and Instagram. I am Happy, Healthy, Balanced You, and you can find me there, message me, and then we can set up a 30-minute complimentary consultation and see how I can help you.
Amazing. Again, thank you so much, Alayne, for coming and sharing all your knowledge and the things that you have gone through. And let's stay connected.
Wonderful, Jenny. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Gathering Voices. If this episode resonated with you, stay in touch with Gentle Landmark for future gatherings and conversations rooted in intention and community. Stay connected, stay inspired, and let's continue to celebrate the voices that shape our world. Until next time, take care and share your story.